with our daily routines today, we're gonna do some blending practice. So this is something that we're gonna do more and more so that you get really good at putting letter sounds together. First, let's talk about the letters that we see here in the pockets. So this one is the letter A. A sounds like ah, ah, ah. Here's the letter O. O sounds like ah, ah, ah. Here's the letter C. C sounds like k, k, k. The letter D. D sounds like d, d, d. And the letter G. G sounds like g, 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 g. All right, so we're gonna start putting some of these sounds together so that this is how we start learning how to make words. So I am going to take the letters C and A. And we're gonna start by chopping, and then we're gonna blend them back together. So ready to chop with me? Ah. Now we'll start blending it back together. Ca. 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 Does that sound like a word that we might already know? Cat. It kind of sounds like the beginning of cat or calf. All right, I'm gonna put the letter C back, and I'm gonna switch it with a letter G. So the letter A here still stayed the same. Let's try chopping. G, A, ga, ga, ga. That's not a real word, but it does kind of sound like a real word. Like maybe gas? Gas, that would be the beginning of gas. We're gonna switch the G for an A. Or I'm sorry, no, for a D. We already have an A up there. We're gonna switch it with a D. Okay, so now we have to chop and then blend it back together. D, A, da, da. Does da sound like a word? Well, I mean, it's not a word, but it sounds kind of like maybe dad, the word dad. All right, now I'm gonna change the A, and I'm gonna cover it up with the letter O. And remember, O says ah, ah, ah. So now this sound is going to be ah instead of ah. And I'm going to put the letter C in front. So let's try chopping. K, ah, ka, ka. What could ka sound? What does that sound like? Maybe like cop? Cop is like a police officer. Let's switch these. Let's switch the order. So now instead of the C being first, we're gonna have the O first. So let's chop. Ak, ak, ak. Does ak sound like the beginning of a word we know? Octopus. Yes, it sounds like octopus. We've talked about this one a lot when we talk about how babies learn to say words, and they start like ak, ak. There's an octopus. Ak, ak. One more. I'm gonna take the O away, and I'm gonna leave the A there. So now we have ack, ack, ack. Does ack sound like any words you know? Maybe like act? Great job blending. We are going to do dictation next. So you'll need a piece of handwriting paper and a pencil. Today when we do dictation, we are just going to focus on the first two sounds in each word. So the first word is camp. Say camp. We're going to decide what the first two sounds are and write those down. Ah, ah. I hear two sounds. Ah, and then the rest of the word, but we're not going to write the rest of the word down. Ah, Let's try the word damp. Damp means like wet. Damp. Damp. So the first two sounds we hear this time are a D and an A. D-a. Next, say the word actor. An actor is like somebody who's in a movie or on a TV show. Let's chop the word actor, and we'll stop after the first two sounds because that's all we need to write down. Ack. 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 I hear an A and a C. Actor. Next, say the word gas. Gas like the gas station that Golly lives at. Let's find out what those first two sounds are, and we'll stop after that. G-a. G-a. Oh, I hear them. Ah, my pencil. G-a. G-a. And then there's other sounds, but we don't need to write those down. Say the word address. Let's listen for those first two sounds in the word address. Add. 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 Address. I hear the letter A and the letter D. I am out of space on this line. I'm going to have to go down to the next line for the last one. Say the word catch. Let's find out what those first two sounds are so that we can write them down. K-a. K-a. K-atch. K-atch. We don't need the last sounds though. The first two are C and A, or k-a, cat. For today, handwriting, you will need 3 sets of lines. So 1, 2, 3. And what I'm going to do is say the name of the letter, make the sound that the letter makes, write it, and you can follow along with me right as I do it. Of course, if I go too fast or you need to stop and fix something with your eraser, just pause so that you can do that. So the first letter we're going to write is D, an uppercase, and then a lowercase. D says D, D, D. And then we're going to write another uppercase and lowercase. Next up is an uppercase A and a lowercase a. A says ah, ah, ah. And on the last part of the line, the last set of letters up here will be an uppercase A and a lowercase a. A says ah, ah, ah. On the next line, we're going to start with an uppercase G and a lowercase g. G says g, g, g. Then a finger space, and we're going to do another uppercase G and lowercase g. G says g, g, g. After that, we have an uppercase C and a lowercase c. C says k, k, k. And then after that C, we're going to do another C. An uppercase C and a lowercase c. C says k, k, k. On the very bottom line, or the last line, depending on where your page is, we're going to make an uppercase O and a lowercase o. O says ah, ah, ah. And then we're going to make another uppercase O and a lowercase o. O says ah, ah, ah. Then a finger space, and we're going to do an uppercase D and a lowercase d. D says d, d, d. And the very last one is going to be another uppercase D and lowercase d. D, d, d.